The Democratic Party is a diverse coalition of voters, with a large part of that coalition being black voters. If President Biden wants to win re-election, he has to make sure that every member of that coalition feels motivated to get out and vote. And right now, 10 months out from November, there's a lot of talk about how fragile the Biden base seems to be. Charlamagne tha God is the host of the popular morning show, The Breakfast Club. His popularity with the youngins has put him in a unique position to impact the world of politics. He has praised and criticized both Donald Trump and President Biden, and interviewed politicians from Biden to Obama. And his sometimes contrarian views have brought him significant media attention, including this recent profile in Politico, which talked to him about the frustration some African-American voters, mainly black men, are expressing about the Biden administration. Biden's deputy campaign manager, Quentin Fulks, who ran Senator Raphael Warnock's second senatorial campaign, recently addressed those concerns.
I know that it's not possible for a Democrat to be elected president of the United States without winning the African-American vote, and therefore our focus is going to be on making sure that we have those voters, that they know that we want to continue to earn their continued support or work to earn their continued support, and so that's where our focus is. But look, we've come out the gate swinging. The other notion that I don't like when it comes to the African-American community is that it's black men versus black women, and I'm also not going to let that take hold in this campaign.
Charlamagne's new venture with politics and culture analyst, political strategist, and my friend, Angela Rye, and friend of the show, is aiming to give voice to the rising majority in America, which is who Biden needs to listen to if he wants to win. Their new podcast, Native Land Pod, launched this week on iHeart Podcasts and Reasoned Choice Media, which was co-founded by Charlamagne. Angela Rye is the co-host. I recently spoke to both of them, and I began by asking Charlamagne why the mainstream media, and particularly Fox, seems to be so obsessed with him these days.
I know what they're doing. They're using me and the things that I say about President Biden and administration to say, see, look, black people are totally, fed up with Biden and his administration. I don't speak for all black people. Black people are not monolithic. My name is Leonard McKelvey. They call me Charlamagne tha God from Mount Corner, South Carolina. I speak for me and my perspective.
Yeah, who is your audience? Tell me the demo of your audience. Who are they?
I mean, it varies, right? Because I'm 45 years old now. So, we've been number one, 18 to 34 the last few months, but we've also been in number two, 25 to 54. Yeah. So I think my audience is just a diverse group of people, black, white, brown. I don't think it's just the youth, like some people may think.
But, Angela, I mean, there is this whole conversation about are black people pulling away from the Democratic Party. I mean, the numbers don't necessarily show it. Let's just put these numbers up. This is ages 18 to 34 overall. Biden not doing so well. He's in the low 40s. Trump's at 46. Black voters, it's still 69-20. I'm not even sure these numbers are accurate this far out from an election. Women voters of color, which is a mix, not just black voters. You can see the numbers there. 2/3 pretty much still support Democrats. Kamala Harris more popular, obviously, with black voters than she is with voters overall. Do you, as a political strategist, you've been in this business, you've been in the political game, are these numbers meaningful, or is there a genuine problem that Democrats have with black voters, and Biden specifically?
Well, here's what I want to say to you, Joy, and you know this, too, because you've also been not just in the business, but in the business of serving the culture for so long. I have been in meeting after meeting, both on the Hill and off the Hill, with the party about their failure to reach their base, their most faithful base. 4 years. This is not new information. I don't know why we're surprised. I don't know why folks they said I'm not holding them accountable on segments with them and all of that. Leonard is not saying anything different than what I've heard members, including the past chairs of the Congressional Black Caucus, say to the party. They're saying you're not investing enough in our community. Find the lie. Jamie Harrison will tell you that that is indeed the case, that they are working on it to change it. So why are we upset when people are pointing out the facts? The facts are enough black consultants aren't hired. Tell me 5 black pollsters you have. You can't because you have not created that bench. Tell me the black candidates that you have. You've been forced to ensure that that bench is growing by the Congressional Black Caucus. You tell me the number of consultants you hire. Tell me with a fact, with a straight face, that white boys don't run the Democratic Party. And I'll call you a lie all day long. Now, that does not mean that we should go and support a fascist. I don't think that either of us are saying that.
And that's what mainstream media never reports me saying, because I'm never saying, I may talk about Joe Biden and his shortcomings, but I also say Donald Trump is the end of democracy as we know it.
Yeah.
And we've seen it. Like, he attempted a coup of this country, to overturn, the vote. So it's like
and the votes of people who look like us.
That's right. So we see what he's capable of.
Yeah. And the question, though, I think, and you do radio, and I do love radio. I do miss radio because you get to talk to people. You get to talk to
Every
actual
day.
people and callers. So when people are calling you, and specifically black people, what are they saying they feel they have not gotten out of having voted consistently for Democrats and for Joe Biden?
Upward mobility. Simple as that. Like, people want security, and a lot of that security is financial. Like, it's simple and plain. And it's been, whether it was President Obama, whether it was, all the way back to Clinton to now Joe Biden, they feel like the Democratic Party has never promised that. And it's like, right now, the problem I'm having with my listeners, what am I supposed to tell them? Like, what am I supposed to tell them other than, look, man, Donald Trump is a fascist. You may think things can't get worse, but they absolutely positively can. But if they feel like, I've already lived through a Trump presidency. I lived through Reagan. How much worse can that get? Like, it's like, what do I tell them? They're not afraid of just telling them to go out and vote because of fear anymore.
And, the thing is, we saw, and, you're not supposed to stand up and shout out in church, but we all watched what happened inside Mother Emanuel. And this was not black people standing up. This was non-black folks, but they were very passionate about Gaza. And you saw a black woman, defend Joe Biden. That's the base that's going to vote for him, right?
Yeah, that's the base that won him the 2020 election. Yeah.
So when you're thinking about things like, we both talked about the sexy red thing offline, that, people are like, I got a stimmy with Donald Trump's name on it, so I know I got it. When Biden sent me a stimmy, I don't remember it.
Yes.
On Gaza, it's a complicated thing because black folks see those Palestinians and they see themselves.
Yes.
So with all of these issues, do you feel that the administration, do they seem to understand that they do have a problem, particularly with younger black voters, on economics on Gaza?
I think that this is a complicated issue. And the reason for that is, just as well as we have friends who work in this administration. We have some friends who have been in there fighting tooth and nail to ensure the administration doesn't just see it, but addresses it.
Right.
The problem that we have, I think part of what Leonard is addressing is when a foreign country needs aid, the United States acts and promptly, and they will figure out a way to answer the call even without an act of Congress.
Yeah.
When it comes time for black people to need aid, even a reparations discussion, people are like, wait, reparations? Who, where, why? Right. And that is really the problem. We have people who are dying literally to feel heard, to feel embraced, to feel supported, to feel sacrificed for as much as we sacrifice at the ballot, even through voter suppression, even through a pandemic, through all of that. And that's the thing. So just meet us halfway, I think is the real
Okay, very quickly before we go, we're out of time, but let me play a clip. Can I play a clip? Play the clip.
It's nice to have a safe space, as you talked about in the oath, where we can speak truthfully. And I think this is a podcast for everyone. If you have intellectual curiosity about your fellow countrymen who don't look like you, this is a place where you can come and hear that.
Very quickly, that name and that voice should sound familiar.
Yeah.
Tiffany Cross.
Tiffany Cross. Quickly, tell us about Native Land Pod.
Native Land Pod is a project from Reason Choice Media, which we co-created with our good friend Chris Morrow.
That's right.
Native Land Pod, first episode dropped today.
Yes.
People are loving it. It's me, Andrew Gillum, and Tiffany Cross.
I love
Every Thursday.
iHeartRadio, our longtime business partners. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Listen.
Joe, you something else.
I'm going to support my friends, and I love
Joy
it.
don't play.
We love
So
you,
excited about Native Land Pod. I will be listening. Charlamagne the God, Angela Rye. Thank you both very much.
Top 3 downloads on Apple. Top 3.